Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Restomod Daisy. Hey, guess what? It's long form video day. We've got a gun in because the shop, take a quick pan around the shop. The shop is actually not done, but it's done enough to start getting some work done. So we're going to start moving on in that direction. We have a brand new takedown stage. I'm very proud of it. It's got our circular UFO video light on it. It's a big enough surface to get everything in and on it that we need to do. Today's victim is a subscriber gun. Bring the camera on here and let's get a shot of the roll stamp. As you can see, it's a Daisy Model number 97 out of Rogers, Arkansas. Now, what makes this gun kind of interesting is it's a small frame Daisy, but because it has a metallic forearm, it's also a pop gun, a whiz gun, a Ricochet Rifle. But down here on the muzzle, we'll notice it also shoots BBs. So it's not a toy gun. It's an actual BB gun. Kind of neat. Late 60s production, I think, on this gun. We'll have some more detail for that for you in the description. So now, the bottom line is the customer sent me the gun because it doesn't work. Well, whenever we get a gun in here at Restomod, we like to make sure that's in fact true. So let's see what this guy does or does not do. Gun cocks, trigger engages. When you pull the trigger, ooh, not much happens. And crucially, an important thing didn't happen that's supposed to happen because this is a Ricochet rifle. We'll grab this other derelict example. It's out of the Remuda here, and I'll give you an idea what it should have sounded like. When you fire the gun, you should get the two effects. You should hear the whiz, and it should actually shoot a BB. So now we know this one doesn't shoot, and we know the customer told us it didn't shoot, so we verified that. So next thing we're going to do is take a look at the piece itself and see what flaws we can find as we look at it. Well, let's take a look at this one here. Watch the lever. The lever should not go into the stock. That indicates a problem. Yeah, and you can look down in that slot there, and you can see that the plastic is busted out, which is allowing the lever to slap into the stock. Not a cool thing. Does have the hammer on it. Buttstock does have an issue, though. As you can see, it's quite curved, and that's a result of cyclonic plastic deterioration. When Daisy dived into plastic stocks, it was a brand new world, and it was going to be the answer to all their problems. Because as you can see, with the casting process, you can get all sorts of grain effects, you can get interesting color swirls, and you have some choices in colors. The bad part was these stocks did not live that long. Now this one does have the Daisy Credo on the heel, which I think is really cool. And one of these days I'll develop a metal butt plate that says the same thing. I just like the fact that there's the Daisy boy there with his no shoes on his feet, bare feet, rolled up pants, because you know he's been wading in the creek shooting at frogs. All right, let's go up the left-hand side of the receiver and take a look at the hardware. All right, that looks like a factory screw. That looks like a factory screw. This does not. All right, so this gun's been worked on before. This is definitely not a factory screw. Oh, but hey, check it out. It does have the inserts to mount the 300 Daisy scope or a 303, two types of fake scopes that they built back in the day. So you could slap them on your Daisy and you had a scoped rifle. Super cool. Rear sight elevator's present. The rear sight leaf has been sprung slightly. It's got a forearm barrel band, which is nice. That's not necessarily something you'll find on these guns. The mounting screw that holds the forearm itself. And this forearm's different from a regular Daisy because it's made out of metal. Because the idea is that it will resonate with the whiz wheel to accentuate the sound of the Ricochet. Now moving down the barrel channel, we'll take a look. We got a couple of big dents here. Somebody got after it with an edge weapon, and that could be anything. God knows what. It does have the front sight barrel band installed. It does have a lightning loader style shot tube, so that's good. Looking at the top of the barrel, it's got some dents on there. I don't know if that's going to be repairable or not, but we'll give it a shot. And this side looks clean. When you look down the bore axis line, it doesn't look like the assembly's bent left or right. Looks pretty true. That's good. All right. So we've diagnosed it. We know she's not a stock gun. She's not original. It's been fessed with. It's broke. We can take it apart. So the first thing we're going to do to disassemble the gun is to remove the shot tube. Now, obviously, I've been fiddling with this before anybody showed up. I made sure it was unloaded. And our shot tube looks pretty fair. The keep the BB in the barrel shroud tab is in place. The BB retention spring, the device that keeps the BB seated in the chamber, is in place. We have, you can see a seam down the barrel run, but it's not open, so it should be fairly airtight. The shroud and forcing cone looks to be in good shape, and the abutment threads look to be in good shape. So that's a good sign. Shouldn't have an issue with that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is take a look down the barrel with my trouble light, but I doubt if we're going to be able to show that to you because it's just really hard to see with the camera. We do have an air tube sticking up out past the abutment washer, so that's good. Let's go ahead and start disassembly. Now, I'm going to make a prediction. When we take this thing apart, we're going to find out that the reason it's not working is twofold. I think it's missing a component that makes the whiz wheel work, or maybe the whiz wheel itself is gone. I don't know. But the sound of the spring and the length of time it takes it to make contact with the abutment, I got a feeling it's really gunked up, really stuck. So our first step is to start taking out screws. Look on the back side here. We've got one nut we'll have to deal with. It's not the standard size. So we'll extract the buttstock screws. Lay them off to the side. We don't want to lose those. Then we'll take the trigger. Oh, hold up. Let's go ahead and, that would have to be a Phillips, wouldn't it? Let's see if we can get this out. Yeah, that's in there so loose I can do it with my fingers. He says, and discovers he's wrong. It is coming. Hang on just a second, and I'll be right back with a Phillips screwdriver. There we go. We'll get that extracted. And once we do, we can take a peek and see what size nut driver we might need to get that lever removed. All right, that's definitely not a daisy part. So now we're going to slide this out, and hopefully we will find, yes, well, it's a bent trigger spring, but it's a trigger spring, and that's supposed to be in there. And now you can see a little better that the base of the stock itself is gone, which is what allowed the lever to go inside. So I don't know if the customer wants to keep this or wants to replace. We'll find out later when we get in touch with him. All right, next phase, we're going to pull the trigger out. So we have a trigger return spring and a trigger. That's a good thing. Now the 97s were kind of wild because they had a lot of characteristics that the Model 94 Red Ryder had. And this is the standard folded metal daisy trigger. Kind of gunky, as you can see, and I think this grease we're looking at right here is probably what the problem is going to end up being with the gun. Now let's see if we can get that lever out of the way, and then we'll be able to pull the forearm off, at which point in time we'll start working on taking the guts out to see just how gummed up that mainspring is. Yeah, that is non-daisy part. So anyway, lever's in good shape. Aluminum 3-star, appropriate for the age of the gun. Not bad, Nick. Color of the paint, as you'll see, matches the color of the gun pretty well. So this is a pretty good candidate for not a total rebuild, no repainting anyway. Now let's see if we can wiggle this off. It comes off by hand. That's good. Barrel band goes out. Doesn't have a screw, so we should be able to just pop it off. Well, that answers that question. As you can see, the forearm is metal, and it helps resonate, but this gun is completely missing all of its internal materials that make it go whiz, with one exception. It does have the pawl. And to give you an idea of how that works, we're going to take our candidate gun apart, and I'll show you all the stuff that it don't have. And that's bad, because the stuff that he doesn't have on this gun is next to impossible to find. They were not a long production run weapon, and there are no new old stocks available, no old stock parts available. All right, so as you can see, this is also a metal forend. Now, moving back to our comparison, this is our customer's gun. This is the Restomod gun. You'll notice that there are some components in here, a whiz wheel made out of metal, and it rotates really fast, and when it does, that little wire runs into a diaphragm right there. Let's see if we can give you a shot of that. It looks like a scope cover. Can you see it? Okay. And when the trigger's pulled, the spring releases, the piston runs forward, and it makes it, whoops, I just popped it out of the way. And it makes the little whiz-whiz sound. Well, I messed up mine, but it's recoverable. Fat fingers. Anyway, so that makes the whiz at a high rate of speed. And to get the whiz effect, you've got to have the wheel, you've got to have the spring, and you have to have the resonator cup. That's probably the rarest part of all. The resonator cup, like I said, has a plastic window right down in here. I don't know if you can see that, but that little window is plastic, and that's what makes the sound. It's sort of a miniature drum, and that's how you get the ricochet effect. So that's going to be the biggest problem we're going to have with this gun, is finding one of these or fabricating one of these. I built a couple of them. That's a whole new video, or a whole nother video in its own right. It's doable though. Now, the one thing you can't see on our store gun is this little bit. This little guy here sticks through the compression spring, and that's what hits the whiz wheel when you pull the trigger, spinning it rapidly and making a noise. Now, having said that and getting that out of the way, we're going to roll over here and slap this in a vise, and we're going to pull the mainspring out of this gun and see what's going on with that. There's a couple of possibilities. One might be that the abutment washer has stuck to the compression cup and is not giving the gun the ability to compress in the air. That would account for it not being able to fire a BB or not making any sounds to speak of. Or it's just not there anymore. But I suspect that's what the problem is. Let me get this seated up. Once you get your mainspring compression tool in place, come on now, don't be a bear, play fair. There we go. We'll get purchase on the mainspring, and we'll compress the mainspring. We'll compress the mainspring. No, maybe we won't compress the mainspring. All right, we have to go to a different tool. I'll be right back in just a minute. There we go. A little bit thicker rods, and still no bite. Oh, we're getting there though. Well, now this is curious. No, it's where it's supposed to be. I thought maybe the mainspring might have got looped back on the plunger assembly, but not the case. So we'll just kind of fiddle with it till we get it without cutting ourselves. There we go. We've got the spring stop extracted. So now it's time to